this because the survivors no longer envy the dead. The final war is over. Its architects forever entombed in melted glass and steel. I watched the efforts of our species dance away on the radioactive wind. Civilization retreated by millennia. All of human history brought to dust. Our cities, now scorched black mausoleums, serve as a reminder. There can be no victory in war. Earth is the answer to the question of our mortality. With resolute defiance, we choose to grasp at the delicate thread of life. My son, the gift of survival is yours. Please, may you never submit. There will be more.
This is it. We are on our own. The air is clear. Welcome home. We're headed straight for oblivion, but we're gonna make it. Whatever
Herzlich willkommen zurück auf Schalke America. It's it. We're done. This is a long season. The season is over. I'm your host, Richard Carmen. Joining me as always, my co-host, Jack Mangan. Jack, we're here.
And glad to be here, not just here, but also, here in the sense of at the end of everything. So, very much agreed.
Yeah. It is the season finale in terms of the podcast, and we're going to do our season end awards. Shout out to Kororo in the chat. I see you there. But also, as well, I want to give a shout out to... I just realized I didn't do something, and I saw... There we go. Change the audio up a little bit. My bad. Shout out to all the new people on TikTok that's sort of following us here, as well as those on Twitch. And then Kororo, obviously, I see you in the house. Anthony as well. Look out to you, too. Oh, man. It is a long season. Season's done with. But let's get into the rundown for tonight. We're going to talk a reaction for the season. We're going to talk a little quick news hits that happened over the weekend and from... what are we expecting for the next few days, and then get into our season end awards. We're going to try to... that kind of threw me off a loop right there. We're going to get through a lot of awards here. We're going to give you a little primer of what we're going to talk about tonight in terms of awards that we're going to give out. We're going to give out Goal of the Year, Best Signing, Worst Signing, Rookie of the Year, MVP, Tragic Figure of the Year, Bad Luck of the Year, Worst Cost-Benefit Ratio, High Point of the Season, Low point of the season, best story this season, unsung hero. We're also going to ask, is there a breakthrough player to look out for next year on this current squad, or maybe the Knappensschmiede? And then, is this the worst season in club history? We'll get into all that tonight. It's going to be something tonight. So it's going to be our therapy session here for our entire season. So, you ready for this, Jack?
Let's get into it, man.
All right, man. It's been a long, tumultuous season. Capped off with this weekend's 2-0 or 2-1, I should say, loss to Elversberg. I mean, obviously, we didn't get the same medicine in Prusa Munster. They had a fight all season. At least they ended the season, the last 3 games under new man Christian Pander. But we didn't really have the fight. Yeah, we got the goal at the end of the game there. But, I mean, other than that, it was a horrible run, horrible season and just in general. Sum up the season for me in a couple of words, how it felt for you.
I'm trying to find the correct word that actually makes grammatical sense. But there's a sense of, like, cementation, I feel like, almost in this. I feel like we have unfortunately sort of cemented our place in the second division for the time being.
We're the new Hamburg, aren't we?
Hopefully not, but it would appear that way. I mean, we'll see what happens, obviously, over the course of the summer in terms of, squad development and, the new coaching staff and all these kind of things. But, some of the statements we've heard from Tillman and others basically being like, oh, I think the squad's actually fine. It's just about getting the most out of them. That's a statement that has me very worried because I don't think the squad's fine. So I don't know how you feel about that, but yeah. So I guess my words for this season is just we might be a Division II side for a bit. I think it's going to be a tall ask to follow up the performance we had this year and honestly last year as well, and expect us to just suddenly then jump into the top 2, top 3.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you about, like, this squad is not okay. It's not. It really isn't. And, hearing Yuri Mulder and company say that, and then also say, like, oh, yeah, we're safe from relegation, and then we nearly got relegated to the 3rd division, it shows you that we're not okay. And so Frank Baumann has a lot of work on his hands. But this season, in general, it just Gelsenberry on YouTube said it best. He said it seems like a completely different world from the start of the season. It really does. Like, you started the season obviously with under Gerards, get a nice 5-1 win against Braunschweig, and it's pretty much downhill from there, unfortunately. And
I'll skip ahead to this right now just because it's funny, but my honorable mention for high point of the season was the 5-1 opener against Braunschweig, just because it was in such stark contrast to the overwhelming majority of the rest of the season. So yeah, I'm with you on that.
Yeah, yeah. And so like it went up and down. We had these high hopes with Gerards. Obviously that didn't work out. Filippo came in temporarily, and then Van Valderen came in. Ended the Hinrunde really well. We're like, okay, we got some optimism here, and then it kind of all like shit the bed from there. And then not only that, stuff that we heard from other managers was said out loud while the manager was sitting in his bench, Kees Van Valderen. He said things that wasn't mentioned before, at least publicly, during his job, and it kind of opened up a can of worms, and who knows what's going to happen now. But yeah, it's just what a crazy year. And where I think Gamer Brothers said it best, where he said like, the higher ups seem like they're content with just surviving the season. It's like, no, that's how low we've gotten. That's why we're talking about one of the worst seasons in history. We should be battling, top 5, top 6, with this club and the statue of it with his fans, and we're not. And the managers seem content with being in a poor state that we are. And so it's like, what the fuck are we doing with this team? Pardon my French, but man, it's such a frustrating season. Cororo says the question is, were we worse under Gerards? That's a fair question. I mean, I think defensively we're as bad. Offensively, we were worse with Kees Van Valderen than we were with Gerards. At least with Gerards, we were scoring goals, but every game would be 4-3, 5-3 for the opposition. And now it's like 2-0, 3-0, and it showed at the end of the season. I mean, how about you? Do you feel we were any better or worse under Van Valderen compared to Gerards, or you the same?
I mean, I think there were times stylistically where we looked a lot better in possession and offensively going forward under Van Valderen than we did under Gerards. But Valderen ultimately wasn't the tonic that we thought he was going to be in terms of improving things over the course of the season. So I think it's probably largely a wash. I'd have to go back and I'm just kind of look at like the points per game and all that kind of stuff. But I didn't really feel like fundamentally we improved that much outside of that one false dawn towards the end of the Hinrunde.
Yeah, I agree with that. And Corota says like Van Valderen was brought in, we were told, to stabilize the defense, and that defense really did not stabilize. Yeah, we had that false dawn you mentioned at the end of the Hinrunde, but other than that, it's just like the defense was non-existent. And we knew of the problems going into the season, and you and I talked about extensively how like, and I think even particularly you like harped on it, like this is not a team that tells you screams promotion. It's like it's a team that's struggling defensively. That was the thing we screamed from the beginning all summer. Last summer was like, fix up the defense, and they did not. And that's been frustrating things. Like we clearly see the errors that need to be fixed, yet the people in charge didn't do it.
Yeah, I mean, look, we're not a sensational offensive team, but the combination of Karaman and Silla, if they're healthy, is going to score you a few goals. We're pretty good on set pieces. You know what I mean? I mean, like we have enough goals to be in the mix if our defense is, commendable, and it's far from that. So that's a consistent issue.
Yeah, 100%. And it ended up showing in the table. It was dicey there to say the least at the end of the season, but we ended up not finishing in the relegation spots, but two places up, 14th position, 38 points. Munster did end up staying behind us, but Greuther Fürth surpassed us. So Braunschweig will be playing in the playoff against Heidenheim, and then Ulm and Regensburg go down. So, I mean,
who got promoted? Was it Bielefeld
and Dresden?
Dresden, that's right. Okay.
Yeah, and then there's a playoff between Braunschweig and Saarbrücken. And I kind of feel like Saarbrücken's going to win that. I feel like they're going to be a team to watch out. They've beaten Bayern more recently than anybody else in the second division, so worry about that. But yeah, it's going to be the season ended horribly. Obviously, look, minus 10 goal differential, and for most part of the season we were roughly 50-50 in terms of goals for, goals against, but then it just ended the season. It just blew up in our face ultimately, and catastrophic. Catastrophic is, I think, the nicest way I can put the end of the season here. So I don't know.
No arguments from me.
All right, let's get to a little bit of the news bits before we get to the awards. Put ourselves out of our misery here, but we're going to start with first bit of news that the season is going to kick off for next season, and that is June 21st is going to be the first official practice open to the public. It's a Saturday, I believe, and so we're just right around the corner, about a month away. So it gives the lads an opportunity to kind of refresh and get back into the groove of things. We'll see. Bauman has a huge task on his plate this summer, so we'll see how that goes. But month away from practice starting, and typically the Zweite Liga starts earlier than the Bundesliga, so we're probably looking end of July, if memory serves correct, Jack. I can't remember. I think that's when we usually start, end of July. So 2 months break, roughly. We got a little bit of time to forget about Schalke there. So
Yeah, I think match day 1 this year was like the first week of August, like within the first 5 days or so. So yeah, you're right. It's right at the end of July, probably.
all right. So we heard from Frank Baumann last week, I guess it was, and he said that his goal in terms of a new manager is to hire someone by the end of the month, by May 30th, 31st, something around that, just before June 1st. That is his goal. And obviously we know about all these candidates that we had, but one of the ones that's been at the forefront lately in terms of Schalke fans and even some of the journalists like Sky Dirk and Andy Ernstens and company is Lukas Kwasniak. And so at the press conference for Paderborn at the end of the season, they did ask him what are his plans going forward, and he was quoted as saying, where is it? He goes, "I have worked at Paderborn with full dedication for the last 4 years. At the moment, I find it extremely difficult to identify with any potential new role. The world will probably look different in 2 to 3 weeks, which is the end of May. But I don't know if I would be enough for a club to say in 3 weeks that I have the strength again." He continued, "My future club wants to hire a coach who's fully dedicated. That's only possible if you recharge your batteries." So, that timeline kind of lines up with when Baumann said he's going to make his decision. It's possible. Anything's possible at this point. But
I am enjoying the, I can't imagine myself in any other role, followed immediately by, "The world could look very different in 2 to 3 weeks." Like, that's, all right. Clear as mud there from Kwasniak. But, what are your thoughts about that potential hire?
if that happens, I think, I've been vocal about this last couple weeks. Ever since I saw, I heard, bits and pieces of him. I know what kind of system he brings, and I know what kind of profile we're looking for in terms of, we want attacking football and this and that, German speaking. But when I heard him do those press conferences I think it was a kicker that showed the video where he was kind of saying why would I turn down Schalke? Are you stupid? That's a big job. And he put us up there with the Bundesliga clubs that are looking after him or looking at him. And then kind of gives his winks, I've been talking to Schalke. Doesn't mean, the people who make decisions, but, and then even after the Schalke game where they beat us, pretty handedly, he didn't bash us or anything like that. He was just hey, we were the better team on the day, and try to keep very bureaucratic, I guess I would say. But I'm all for Kwasniak. I think could come back to bite us, obviously, but what he did with Paderborn's amazing. They nearly got promoted to the Bundesliga this year. At the end of the year, missed out by 3 points, I guess it was. Plays attacking football. He's a personality. He won't give you this bland, press conferences that we've had with coaches recently. And so I'd be excited at that prospect. And I pretty much any of the candidates I'd be happy with, but I think this is number one on my list at least, just because I think he's a character that we needed in a long time. And no matter what, we need a manager who is strong-willed. And I think Kwasniak is that, strong with the media and also strong with how he feels the team should be run and the players he wants. And I think that would be a good thing for Schalke. What about you?
Yeah, I think over the years since our initial relegation, the pool of potential candidates has gotten less attractive, and
Yes.
So I think when it comes to it, given the kind of names we're hearing generally, I think you'd have to be pretty excited about Kwasniak, compared to anybody else that I'm hearing. But yeah, I don't know. It's just it's tough to be another second division team is going to produce the answer for us to get out. You know what I mean? It's just kind of where we're recruiting from at this point is difficult. But Paderborn were soundly better than us recently. And if you have a coach that is able to produce that and is interested in the challenge and thinks it's a big job, look, we want to attract people that want to be here and believe in the project and have some respect for the club's history and its position in the country and everything. And so I think based on kind of what we're seeing in the press conference and whatnot, he's at least kind of hinting at that he understands that and is down for that. So yeah, I mean, I'm on board if it happens, but I guess we'll have to wait to see if there's any other names that really come into serious contention over the course of the next week if that stuff's being made public.
It seems like, and maybe it's just short-sighted of me seeing this, but this is the first time we're actually getting, I would say, 3 to 5 decent names, well-known names that are interested in Schalke or Schalke are interested in that are reasonable in the last, probably since like before Brighton Rider, honestly. It always seems like we've struggled, especially at the end of, coming towards like 2014, 2015 onward, as our decline was clearly happening. The names that wanted to come to Schalke were far few between, and we were just pulling names left and right, and it's, as much as we like Tedesco, like he came from, a league below. And so now we're looking at coaches who are at our level, which is now saying much second division, but they're well-known names, Tietz, Anfang, Kwasniok, Walter, so on and so forth. So that's a nice change, but again, we're not in a really great position. We have a lot of work to do, so I am hopeful.
I know there's been more recent conversation about Anfang, but I mean, have you heard other updates about Walter or Tietz recently? Because I may have missed that if those were coming through, but I thought that's kind of like died off a little bit.
I think Walter's kind of the whole thing with that is that his assistant followed Schalke on Instagram, so everyone's like, "Oh my god, he's going to be our coach." Then I think somebody came out, I don't remember who it was, said like, "No, Tim Walter's like 0% chance he's coming to Schalke." Tietz, I heard, is likely not going to want to come to Schalke, and he may be just going to stay in Magdeburg. I don't know. But Anfang was at the game at was it Elfersberg maybe, or no, the game before that, a week before, he was at the Schalke game, and everyone's like, "Oh, is Anfang going to be our coach?" But it just turned out like him and Ben Mang are close friends, and so he came to see his friend, and it's like this is similar to when we back in the day when Horst Heltz had Armin Vey there, and everyone's like, "Oh, we're going to Armin Vey." It's like, no, they're just friends, he's not going to come. So that's
He saw
all
us
I
lose
heard.
2-0 to Dusseldorf, and he changed his mind.
Yeah, he's like, "Nah, dude, I ain't coming. Too much work. All right, moving on in the news bits. We have. I didn't realize this is how many players we had still in the books. I figured it would be a Roven Schroeder like turnover where we have nobody under contract and we're just gonna have to find people. Not so much is the case, according to Andy Ernst. He says, "Here's a reminder: as it currently stands, 37 players are under contract for next season, including loan returnees and academy promotions. A lot of players will have to leave before a major overhaul can happen." That was shocking to me that we had that many people under contract, and I'm sure they're minimal contracts. We probably have 30 of those are probably coaches that we just fired. But it seems like we're going to have to get rid of some players. We might have to eat some money just overall because I can't imagine Frank Baumann is going to be happy with what he sees outside of maybe like a handful of guys. It's going to be a lot of work to get rid of those people.
I mean, I wouldn't think so either, but he doesn't control the purse strings necessarily, so it depends on what the rest of the hierarchy is willing to let him do. But
yeah, that's a fair shot there. So we'll see. It's got a lot of, you would imagine a lot of overhaul that's going to happen, but like you said, we'll see what Baumann and what his allowance is. 2 names I think that we are fairly certain are going to go are Thailand Bullet and Musa Silla. And this question came from Reddit. Which one do you feel worse about losing? We're probably going to lose both, but between the two, which one do you think you're going to feel the pain the most, Jack?
Bullet.
Yeah?
That might be controversial. I know a lot of people say goals win games. You need to score goals to get promoted. I agree. I think a young player like Bullet who can play in multiple positions, center back, right back, decent in possession. I mean, like just the kind of guy you can plug in, not think about it, and he's going to usually be one of your best performers just sort of without even, you know what I mean? It's plug and play kind of stuff with him, and I think the potential of him long term is very positive, and so I'm frustrated to see yet another, good young talent potentially leave. But at the same time, Silla was our big money signing. Came in, essentially delivered. What do you have, like 16 goals, something like that? I mean, like right around there. So, yeah, that's going to be a big loss as well. How do you feel? I'm
with you 100%. I think I wish we could keep both players. Musa Silla had a fantastic first half of the season. Second half kind of drowned out, but the team kind of drowned out as well. But he did miss some big opportunities. Happy for what he did. He, clearly was, one of the positives for Ben Manga this season. And goals do win games, but I feel like we could find a striker, or whoever the new coach is going to come, he's going to have a type of striker that he wants. Silla may not be that fit that mold of what he likes, right? And so we could probably find a striker or striker combination. We don't know what Karaman's doing to take us next year to get some goals. The one area, probably one of the main areas that we've struggled since probably Uchida, or who knows since when, is right back. We've had nobody really at right back. Yeah, we had the one season where we got relegated. Timo Becker did fairly well for us, but he struggled in the Zweite Liga after that. We've had no consistency at right back, and it's been an area where we've been torched. There's a lot of pace in the second division. So I'm missing a guy like Thailand Bullet, who can play multiple positions, like you said. It's good footwork with the ball, smart on the attack. A lot of promise, a lot of potential with him. It's going to suck to lose him. It's another, like I said, another product from the academy that we're going to lose on fairly cheap, I'd imagine, considering as much as we want. And so, yeah, it's going to suck to lose him, I think, more so than Silla, but both will be missed. No doubt about it. Ryan says, I've been mentally prepared for Silla to leave for a while now, so Bullet is the one that feels worse. Yeah, exactly. And he comes from the academy, so it's that much more that we feel it for us. All right, last thing, we now know who we think we know who are the teams we're going to be facing next season. So next year we're going to have 6 teams from the North Rhine-Westphalia area, basically called the North Rhine-Westphalia Liga, I guess, because we're going to have 6 teams from there. But all the teams that are going to be there next year: Kiel back in the Zweite Liga, Bochum as well, Dresden coming up from the Dritte Liga, as well as Bielefeld. You have Heidenheim playing Elversberg. I'm kind of pulling for Elversberg to get promoted, so we might be seeing Heidenheim or Elversberg. Elversberg, they're a damn good team. They're going to be a favorite if they stay down, but if it's Heidenheim, who knows with Frank Schmidt. Then you look at Saarbrücken against Braunschweig. It's one of those 2 teams. I imagine Saarbrücken is going to win that, just how Braunschweig's play at the end of the season. And then obviously us, Paderborn, Dusseldorf, Munster, Magdeburg, Kaiserslautern, Karlsruhe, Hanover, Nuremberg, Hertha, Darmstadt, and Greuther Fürth, Jack. Gonna be interesting especially with Dresden in the house. Amazing fans, amazing crowds, and that's going to be interesting to see that. Bielefeld, pretty good this year in the Dritte Liga, and then obviously...
It just always warms your heart to see Hertha down there with us as well.
Yes, it does. It's a one glimmer from this season. But how about these relegation games? Any way you're leaning between Heidenheim, Elversberg, and then the other game, Braunschweig and Saarbrücken?
I'm definitely with you on Saarbrücken, Braunschweig. I would be shocked if Braunschweig shows up and it's football. Who knows what can happen over 90 minutes? But I mean, you would have to think Saarbrücken are going to take that one. Less confident about Elversberg, Heidenheim. I guess I feel as though in these, and I have to go back and look at historic matchups because I could be talking out of my ass here, but I feel in these situations, a lot of times we're always viewing the second division teams like attacking prowess relative to second division defenses. Mm-hmm. And so if that's kind of something that you're primarily, concerned about for the second division team, that gets nerfed a little bit usually when going up against that Bundesliga team. But Elversberg had a pretty good defensive record this season too. I mean, so yeah, that makes, I don't know. That one is to me is going to be an interesting watch. I'm going to try to catch it if I can. But how are you leaning?
Yeah, I think I'm leaning towards Elversberg because I think they seem like a complete team. We looked at Hamburg, were flashy offensively. Köln, I think they're a really good team as well. But Elversberg, really good defense, one of the best defenses in the league, and they scored a lot of goals. And so being a complete team like that, obviously they look extra good against us. So who doesn't, right? So I'm curious. Heidenheim had a tough season. They got a really good manager. I like Frank Schmidt a lot. So to be determined. predominantly in these situations, the Bundesliga club prevails. But who knows? This is the little engine that could Elfersberg. It's a fantastic story where they came from, the depths of German football, and with no money and this 12,000 seat capacity stadium to do what they're doing. If they do get promoted to the Bundesliga, they're going to have to go play at another stadium because their stadium's not big enough for the Bundesliga. So you're probably looking at a Saarbrücken or something like that, a stadium that's nearby that they can house Bundesliga opponents, because 12,000 ain't going to do it for the Bundesliga. So I don't know. It'll be an interesting game. I want to watch it just like you do. So we'll see what happens there. And yeah, it'll be interesting for sure. Anthony says, I think Saarbrücken's going to get promoted. Yeah, I agree. All right, one last thing before we get to the awards, because I thought this is funny, a little bit of funniness, because this is going to be a depressing podcast. Someone had put on Twitter, it says his name is Swayze Save Me. That's his handle. And it says, like, this is my thread of the best moments from the season. Starts off with Timo Becker. We finally got some leadership joining on the team. That's it. End of the thread. That's it. I think he's about right. I mean, that's all you can talk about this season. We got Timo Becker back. That's all we can look forward to going forward. So, well done by him. All right, let's get into some awards, Jack. Got a lot to choose from. Most of them are pretty much depressing, considering how the season was. And if I see some comments that I saw from others, I'll chime in. Feel free, though, as we talk about the awards tonight, either put them in the comments during the podcast or on our YouTube page afterwards, and we can share that afterwards. But let's kick things off with, where's my there we go, notes. Goal of the year. We're going to have to look way back, Jack, because I don't think we scored in the last 2 months of the season, minus the last minutes of the last game. Do you have a favorite for goal of the year?
My question for you is your goal of the year Karaman's goal against Elversberg?
From that was my pick of the midseason, wasn't it? Yeah.
Okay. So I'll tell you what. You go first. You can talk about that one right now. You go ahead then. I had a feeling that was what you were going to pick, so I'll let you take that one.
Yeah. Really, second half of the season, really, I don't think produced any goals, any good, really nice goals for us. It's mostly depressing fashion if they did score. So it had nothing for me. Again, that Karaman goal, he had gone through like 4 or 5 players, pulling off freaking Lionel Messi type moves, just weaving in and out, and puts off a great shot to put it back. And again, it's one of these things with Karaman, like, he doesn't seem like the most gifted and talented player, but then he pulls these things out of his ass, and you're like, where the hell did that come from? And he scored a beautiful goal, and so it was that for me. There's other goals that happened early in the year also that were up there, but that was, for me, just the manner he did it, the unsurprising way that it happened. Fantastic. That's my goal of the year for sure.
Yeah, certainly love that one on my list as well. And of course, came in the match week 17 victory against Elversberg, who were league leaders at that time. So, like, in the context as well, makes it that much more interesting. My goal is going to be a Karaman goal as well. I am going to go with. I'm going to go match week 8 against Hertha. It was a 2-2 against Hertha. There's a give and go that Karaman plays with Yunus where he kind of like, comes short, plays it to Yunus, then runs behind his defender that was just tracking him, and then receives the ball back from Yunus, and first time hits this curling right foot screamer, like upper right corner, which was a fantastic goal. And just great, play from Karaman overall. So that was match we get against Hertha. That would be probably my goal of the season. And then just for shits and giggles, just my aesthetic goal of the season, my funniest goal of the season was Karaman's goal in the 2-0 against Jans Regenberg. The one that he made the defender fall down like Boateng against Messi. Which was another classic, like Karaman just dribbling and doing all that kind of stuff. And
oh my God.
So there you go.
That's awesome. That's funny. I almost said for shits and giggles, I'm like, that the Toby Moore goal, the first goal of the season for us, was my goal of the year. Everything else is downhill.
I think I shouted that one out halfway point too, just because it was such an emotional high. You know what I mean? Like right off the bat, and part of his redemption story of the season and everything too, because he had a good campaign. So
yeah, it's so funny. He no longer is going to be with us next season. One of the 7. What are your thoughts, real quick? They did a send off for the 7 players leaving Schalke. Obviously, Ralph Fährmann is the one who's going to take the main highlights, the main headlines, but obviously the other players are all involved. Aiden, Kaminsky, Moore, Barkok, Fairman. Who am I missing? A couple of longer and maybe one other. But thoughts on the send off with the seven players?
Yeah, I mean, a couple of long-standing goalkeepers. Obviously, I have more feelings for Fairman than Longer, just because of who was playing most of these games. Although Longer's been a great servant for us for a long time, so massive respect to him. Fairman, obviously, a much more complicated relationship, but I don't know. Maybe people have soured on him in the past couple of years. To me, he's still going to go down as kind of a club legend.
Yeah.
And on a personal note, that's another one that's just tough to see because Ralph Fairman's one of those guys that I associate with like the very beginnings of my Schalke sort of like supporter status or very close to it, right? I mean, like I started following Schalke a couple years prior to that, but when he was on loan initially and then came back, and not on loan, he was straight up at a different team. He was at Frankfurt maybe before he came back. Anyway, regardless, but like when Neuer was leaving and that kind of stuff, like Fairman's been on the squad or kind of in and around the squad for the overwhelming majority of the time that I've been following this club. And so to see him leave is kind of like an end of an era thing and kind of ties me back to like earlier times. So that was kind of difficult. And then honestly, like, respect to Kaminsky, been a really good servant for us over the last couple seasons. And I know he gets memed a lot. He's had some really bad moments. He's had some really great moments as well. And so respect to him. And then I didn't work out the way we wanted to. And that's another like, sad kind of like younger youth prospect kind of guy to see leave. But yeah, those are kind of the main guys I would shout out from that list.
Yeah, I agree with all that. I think the one head scratcher for me was Barkok. Like, why'd he get a send off? Especially the manner that his tenure ended with Schalke. But I get it. It'd be like, how do you like do a send off for the other six guys and then forget this guy? That's probably what I would have done. But Schalke has too much class for that, and they're gonna we're gonna send everybody off, together. And I think the video packages they did for Ralph Fairman were fantastic. Really great to see. And also I want to give a quick shout out to Guido Burgstaller. He's retiring as well. He scored a goal, I think his last game of the season for Rapid Vienna. And then
after that assault.
Yeah.
The head injury and everything too, yeah.
Yeah, so seeing his retirement video that Rapid Vienna put out was really great to see. If you haven't seen it yet, go check it out. Really beautiful stuff there. Really shot well. Very emotional, obviously. So
Guido Burgstaller, forever in our hearts. He's offside in my heart, but he's in my heart nonetheless.
Yeah, exactly. Barkok is the easy guy to let go because of his off the pitches. Yep, 100% Anthony. All right, let's see. I think this is easy. I think it'll probably be unanimous, but maybe I'm wrong. Best signing?
Musa Silla.
Yeah, it's going to be hard not to. What do you have? 16, 17, 18 goals this year. Teamed up with really well with Karaman this year. Not Fairman. So
Can I go honorable mention?
Please.
Karius. Because that could turn into a continued future signing as well, and that could prove to be kind of maybe our best acquisition of the season in retrospect. But in terms of the impact this season alone, definitely Silla.
Yeah, I agree with that. I like that shout out too. Oh, okay. Worst signing. There's a lot to choose from.
I'm gonna go Gantabine.
Okay.
800K. So one of our pricier signings after Musa Silla, and I thought just terrible. Like I can't remember a performance or a game from him where he really like ever looked good. So I mean, feel bad for the guy, but yeah, just didn't work out. Wasn't ever happy to really see him in the starting 11, and was usually justified in that. My honorable mention would be Felipe Sanchez, but to me, that's just like something else was going on there for them to get that wrong. You know what I mean? In terms of like the amount of pitch time he's had, I had to go Gantabine just because he's been more involved and was expensive. But what do you think?
800K for an anti-footballer. I too am going to go with the $800,000 signing. But this is Felipe Sanchez, as you just mentioned.
Fair.
I think mostly because Manga had blown so much smoke up her ass about how great he is and this and that from Argentine football. And, Argentine footballers tend to be really good players. And it is sometimes super difficult to adjust to a new league, as apparently it has been for Felipe Sanchez. Obviously, Fimple's telling us differently that, with the U23s, he had improved massively, especially in the last month. But, from what we were told he was going to be, and then he shows up and just he couldn't cut it. For whatever reason, I feel bad for the guy because he struggled and he made crucial mistake after crucial mistake with red cards and penalties that were given away. over and over again, and just for whatever reason, I don't know what it is, and if it's language barrier or what, but he struggled mightily. He did not look like this when he was in Argentina. So that was my worst signing of the year. My honorable mention is anybody else not named Silla that Ben Manga hired. So they're all pretty bad this year.
Fair enough.
Minus 2. All right, let's go. Next one. Let's go rookie of the year. And I guess there's a couple ways you could take this. I guess I'm leaning towards the others, but
Assuming he qualifies, I'm going Bullet, but let me know.
okay, yeah, I think that's fair. I think it could happen to the players for sure. So Bullet is a good shot. I'll go Max Kruger just because I wasn't expect. I heard a lot about him, but I wasn't expecting him to do much. And he came up big for us, especially when the midfielders were injured a lot. And then he made himself a rotational player in terms of that midfield for the most part until the end of the season. But yeah, Bullet as well. Bullet was fantastic. I think both those players were 1A, 1B. I think in terms of that. Difficult one to answer this one. MVP.
For me, Karaman. Most overall goal contributions, goals and assists, higher than Silla. Also, with the leadership that he exhibited, and sort of the emotional, galvanization. I think his impact on the squad overall is greater than anybody else's. So I go Karaman.
Yeah. No, I think it's probably hard not to pick Karaman. Probably two names that jump to you is Karaman and Silla, but I think Karaman's it's the extracurricular stuff, right? Yeah, he had the goals, but also he had the assists, like you mentioned, and that raw stuff that he brought to us. He at times seemed like the only one who cared in terms of being on the pitch, who cared about winning. You saw that he even at the end of the season after the Elfsborg game, he talked about how he felt like pathetic performance, embarrassed about how the performance he did for the crowd and everything they'd done for the team, and they couldn't even bring a good product on the pitch. His leadership was immense, and I think for sure MVP. But it's hard. There weren't many players you could probably put down on this list. There's maybe like 3 max.
Not that I need to pander to Schalke supporters that aren't watching this podcast, but MVP, honorable mention, away support on our travel days. I mean, how many times did you see significant presence? You're watching the stream of the game and you're primarily hearing Schalke fans in the corner chanting and stuff. So that was pretty cool to see. Some of the support and demonstrations on our away fixtures.
The top 5 away fans this season in German football. Number 5, Eintracht Frankfurt, with an average of 5,000 fans away. Köln comes in 4th place, 5,281 fans average on the road. Stuttgart, number 3, 5,997 fans average on the road. Number 2, Hamburg, 6,033. And coming in at number 1, our fans, the Schalke fans, 6,669 fans average on the road. And I think the last 3-4 months, they're averaging 10 to 25K easily every game, which is unbelievable. I think it was the Hamburg game. They had 25,000 fans, but even the Dusseldorf match, they had 15,000 fans. Just unbelievable performance by them. Yeah, I love that shout. For all of them who are not listening to our podcast. All right. You can paint this however you want to paint it, but tragic figure of the year.
This was a weird one. I'm gonna give you once again. I'll give you an honorable mention as well. I'm gonna go Karius overall. Kind of a short-lived story, and so it kind of feels weird to give it to him. But just he's had a weird trajectory, obviously, in his career. It's hard to feel bad for him because he's reached heights in football that few people have reached in terms of the teams that he's played for and the fixtures he's been a part of. But clearly in a weird spot in his career. Finds the solution with Schalke, comes in, has some big displays. And I think what was one of them? Maybe was it against Munster?
Yes.
In the second half of the season, stood on his head, made a bunch of great saves, and just to have some of those moments with the Schalke supporters and everything, and him feel like he's kind of potentially on the road to revitalizing his career or something, and then for him to have that injury. in the game. Was that Hamburg? I forget who that was against, or whatnot. And yeah, so for him, I'm going to go Karius for that. The honorable mention. This is kind of a weird one too. I was going to say Iden, and that's just the emotional, ties to like the youth players, but just a player that had some incredible highs. The Karate Kid stuff. Remember from a number of years ago, and a player that you and I were always rooting for, and then just to kind of it never quite materialized, and now looks like we've probably officially reached the end of the road and everything. He made a nice post on Schalke, so sad to see him go. He's not a tragic figure by any stretch of the imagination, but thought I'd mention him too.
Yeah, no, those are great shouts. Tragic figure of the year. Someone who was it? Gelsenberry had a great shout for this one. He had mentioned Hoffman. The goalkeeper we brought in for Braunschweig is supposed to be, we thought was going to be number one, loses the job to Heckeren. And then
I forgot about that, man.
I did too. It's such a long season, right? So that was a great shot there. I think, yeah, I mean, yeah, you're going to say, you said Karius. I'm going to say Justin Heckeren. Because, like, he did a great job winning the job from Hoffman, the guy we just mentioned, and had a decent start. He obviously won the job for a reason, and Gerard's had a lot of faith in him. And then, Fimpel and Van Wonderen came in, and they continued, believing in him. But then, as we all know, in the Winterpause, they bring in Loris Karius. And yes, I'm not going to say he was without issues. Heckeren, certainly, he's a young goalkeeper, 21, 22 years old. He had issues. He had the yips every now and then, missed some, with some easily, I say easy because I'm sitting on my ass, but it appears from our viewpoint, easily caught balls, and he missed those. And then you bring in Karius, your bench almost automatically, as soon as they made one mistake, he's on the bench, Karius comes in. Karius did really well, and then eventually he's forced back in just because of injury, not because of play. And it's still the performances, he seemed like a shell of himself for the first half of the season. And who knows where he goes from here. It's just tough for a young goalkeeper, and this could really have a huge impact on his career going forward, mentally, right? I think skill set he's there, but mentally that's a lot. And so having the ups and downs as a young player, it's one thing if it's Ralph Fairman. We remember when Fairman went through this with Nubel several years ago. That's different. At least he was experienced at that point, and it's difficult, no doubt about it. But a young man like Heckeren, that's tough. And so I think for me, that's why it's tragic of the year. And then my honorable mention, I guess, would be Amin Younes, only in the respect that I think both of us had high hopes of Amin Younes just because he's by far the most talented player on the team. We were hoping that maybe he could be a catalyst for what we saw Karaman do. I was kind of hoping to see Younes do some of that. We saw glimpses of that here and there, but for the most part, it wasn't what we expected, and so in that regard, I guess he's honorable mention for me. I guess I don't know. So, Dirk says your podcast is probably the only thing I'll really miss during this forgettable season. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Shout out to him. Let's see. Moving on. Bad luck of the year. Bad luck of the year, and I'll give you what Gelsenberry or someone had mentioned in this year. He had said. Bad luck of the year has to go to Schallenberg with his unjustified and consequential sending off in the second match. And that was a big game where we had just come off a 5-1 victory over Braunschweig, and then what was it, Nuremberg or Kaiserslautern? We get a red immediately, and that kind of
Nuremberg 3-1 loss.
There you go.
Sounds right.
Yes. So that's bad luck of the year there. What are your thoughts?
I didn't know what to put for this one, and I actually like that shout, so I'm just gonna jump onto that one and say we'll go with that. I like that one.
I'm gonna stay on that front. I think Kenan Karaman with his red card 2 minutes into the game against Hamburg. We ended up getting a result in that game, but ultimately, it hurt us for the next two games where we needed him in those crucial fixtures at the end of the season against the big opponents. He wasn't there, and he let himself get too hyped up for the game. We knew he was going to be hyped up for the game, and he just wasn't thinking. Made a stupid play, gets a red card. It was a clear red card 2-3 minutes in the game, and his team is forced to play 90 minutes without him. Got a result in that game, but the result of him not being in the next two games was crucial to us. Really wasn't the only factor, obviously, but it didn't help.
And we barely escaped that one. They were peppering our goal with a lot of
Yes.
shots in that game too. So
Yes. So that's what I put in there. All right, another one hard to pinpoint down, but worst cost to benefit ratio.
easy.
Okay.
Keith Van Wonderen.
Oh,
Yet another coaching salary that is now on the books and no discernible improvement from Gerards. So for me, not the worst signing. You had to replace your coach. Took a gamble on this guy, but in terms of worst cost benefit, I think it's Keith Van Wonderen.
okay. I like that. I like that shout. And because of that shout, it kind of started turning the wheels in my head just now. And I'm going to say, I don't know if it's quantifiable or not, but the decision from Tillman and Heffer to say, we don't need a sporting director. We're good without it. And then realizing within 6 months that, oh shit, we fucked up. We absolutely need one. And they had to go ahead and bring in Frank Baumann, but they put Ben Manga, who they brought him in not even for that role, had to fill that role because they realized, oh my god, that's a really crucial position. So it's a big mea culpa by them that they, in front of the whole meeting that they had with the fans, and he admitted to that. And I think that was a big time hurting there. So I wouldn't have thought of that if you didn't bring up Keith Van Wonderen. It kind of triggered in my head. All right, so it's going to be hard. We're about to pull back to the beginning of the season. It might be that Braunschweig game, but high point of the season for you.
Yeah, I mean, I already gave you that Braunschweig honorable mention, the 5-1 opener, so I'm not going to go with that. But I'll go the stretch at the end of the Hinrunde match day 15-17, where we had a stretch of 3 unbeaten, maybe been 5 unbeaten if we continued into the Rückrunde games in January. But that match day 15-17, the bookends of that. 4-2 win against Paderborn, who were league leaders at the time. 4-1 win against Elversberg, who were league leaders at the time.
Yeah.
Felt like we were turning the corner. Obviously, that was a false dawn, so it was, jokes on me for falling for that. But, defense looked respectable during that period. Offense was on fire. And some of the guys that were cooking were guys where you felt like it was repeatable. Karaman, Silla, at that point, whatever. I mean, actually, Silla may have been out at that point, actually. But I know Karaman had, we talked about the goal he scored against Elversberg and whatnot, and he scored against Paderborn as well. He scored in both those games. So I don't know. That was the period for me where I had maybe the most hope in this kind of difficult campaign.
Sanjar says, every comeback we made to draw against Hertha. Hamburg. Yes. Yeah. Those are good games in that respect. That was big too, because obviously two of the biggest, most followed fan bases in.
Was it 2-2 twice?
Yeah. Both Hinrunde and both end of the season. Burke says we all fell for that false dawn. I go with another false dawn where towards the end of the season, and I think during our midseason awards, I think we made some outlandish predictions for where the team was going to finish, but I kind of felt it was kind of probably still achievable after the Ulm matchup. So we had gone where it was going win loss to start the Rückrunde, and the last game on April 6th against Ulm, we won 2-1. We're okay, we just got to draw last week and scored to Firth. We're on a roll here. Let's beat Regensburg and go to this last stretch on a positive. And we lost to Regensburg, the worst team in the league, and we just never recovered from there. Yeah, that next game is Hamburg was a 2-2, but
yeah, 5 of the last 6 we lost.
That seemed it took our soul out of us, and I felt like that Ulm game. Oh, we're gonna get here. We're gonna get end of the season. We're gonna end maybe top 6 or something if we're lucky. No, not even close. bottom six where we ended up. So, oh my God. He says, Sanjar says, I thought Eunice was about to turn up the first time we drew to them. Yeah, how wrong was I? Yeah. All right. What else? We got a couple left here. Low point of the season. I guess it kind of coincides with everything we just said, but is anything lower than where we are right now? How about that?
Probably not. I'm trying to look over the games real quick to see if anything else stands out to me.
For me, I'm going to say no, because we just backpedaled our way to survive. We didn't survive. We were lucky that teams around us helped us out. We did everything in our power to get relegated. We should have probably got relegated, but
I'm going to shout out match day 6 against Darmstadt did we not go up like
5-3?
3 goals to
Yes.
none and then lose 5-3 in that game? And that was sort of the third consecutive loss that we had after a reasonably good start, including that 5-1. So that was kind of when it was like, this is
It cost
Yeah.
a dub. Yeah, great shout. No, yeah, I remember that 3-0. It was just like I almost felt like. Well, no, I'm not going to bring it up, but yeah, that's a horrible way to lose that game. Up 3-0 at halftime. Toby Moore had a good goal in that game. I remember too. So, God, yeah, I like that. All right, best story of the season. I'm gonna give you mine because it has nothing to do with the men's team. It's the women's team, the Frauen, who had a wonderful year this year. One of the second best team in the women's league. Beat everybody except for Dortmund this year. Drew them twice and then lost, or drew them once and then lost at the end where promotion was on the line. But really great season. They were fantastic. I thought they were actually at most times, more entertaining to watch than the men. And so for me, that was the story of the season. And I hope that they got another game. They got the Westfalen Liga Pokal final on June 1st. Hopefully that's televised. Maybe we do a watch along. But they got a chance for redemption in there at least, So that's my story of the season for me.
I like that shout too. It's a good shout.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have an unsung hero of the season?
Besides the away support, who I already shouted out with a different one earlier, I'm actually going to go Tobias Moore.
Oh. Okay.
Just a guy that like had a couple bad campaigns in a row, wasn't super thrilled that he was going to be involved at the start of the season and wasn't really expecting much from him. And then from the get-go in that 5-1 against Braunschweig, scored a sensational goal. I thought worked really hard this season, always put in a shift. And, dude, I mean, like, fundamentally, guy's got a really good left foot that can pop up and give you goals or, good set-piece delivery, that kind of stuff in key moments. So, he had one or two free kick goals. One of them was really sick, a little cheeky dinker over the wall, like early in the year, I think. I'm going to go Tobias Moore. Better campaign than I expected, made some big plays for us, scored some goals. So, yeah, I'm going to give him a shout out.
Yeah, considering he wasn't high on either of our lists in terms of well-liked players, in terms of what he brought to the club, I guess. But no, I love that shot. I'll go with that, but I'll give a consolation as well. I'm gonna give a shout out to Ron Schallenberg. Didn't have the greatest of seasons, but forced to play center back when that's not his natural position. I thought, I was looking forward to seeing a possible midfield combination of him and Seguin, what they could do, and even with Bachmann in the mix. And he, early on, it's clear that finally it was clear to the managers that the defense sucks. So he went back there to help out, and he did, an admirable job considering he's a midfielder, and kind of been stuck in that position. And then when he needed to, he came up into the midfield. There was a stretch that it might have been at the end of Hinrunda where he started center back and end the game in midfield and had really good games. And so, he was like our X-Acto knife or Swiss Army knife. Is he Swiss? He might be Swiss, so it might be worked out. So, but no, shout out to him. I thought it was an honorable mention, but I love your shot too. So,
yeah, good campaign from Schallenberg.
All right, two last ones. First, let's go negative and then end on a positive. And it's more of a question than anything else. Is this the worst season in club history, in your opinion?
I mean, I'm not a historian, so I can't answer that. I think the fact that we are in the second division and finished this low in the second division is, certainly an argument for that. To me, it's still hard to compare the feeling I'm feeling now with how I felt when we got relegated initially.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like that to me, I felt like was worse somehow. But I mean, I totally understand the perspective given where the club is relative to where we used to be and how bad we're doing even at this level.
Yeah. No, yeah. I think I said this, I think, on the live stream. It's like to me, it feels like the worst season in club history. Now, I said it's easily, if it's not the worst season in club history, it's easily top three. I think, obviously you had the scandals that happened, in the what was it, the 70s or whatever, where Schalke was involved with that. You can include some of that because Schalke was heavily punished for that. And we had some other campaigns where we got relegated, but as you just said, to be in the second division and nearly got relegated, probably should have got relegated to the third division. We're strapped financially. we're strapped mentally in terms of football knowledge and the wherewithal to kind of set up a decent team. All that on top of the whole cloud that's Clementoni's hanging over us for years now. This feels like the worst season in club history. And like I said, I'm not a historian either. I've been doing the Schalke series, which I need to get back to, but even some of the stuff I heard from the olden days, it's in the mix, and it's easily top 3, if not the worst. And so, in my short-sighted view, yes, it is the worst season.
Very fair.
So let us know in the chat what you guys thought. Dirk says it's the worst finish in the 121-year history. I think they said so on the German radio as well. It's the worst finish in Syria and in Bundes Schalke history, I should say. Sandra says, I would say it's the worst. The news of our form got so bad, people overreacted and thought Schalke would go to the Liga. Yeah. I don't even know if that's overreaction. I think that's a clear, fair reaction that we would have got relegated. If not for the ineptitude of teams below us, I think we lucked out. So, all right, let's end this on a positive, which is going to be hard to do, but looking forward to next season, I would ask, who do you currently have as your potential breakout star for next season? And focusing mostly on players that are currently on the team who are not really big names, household names yet, or Knapp and Schmida players.
So, I mean, Ian's on the screen right now. Love that shout. I'm going to yield this question mostly to you just because you watch more of the younger setup. But, I mean, Moussa Chabara, if you want to take a look at, some of the younger players that broke through in the senior team this year. But I don't have necessarily super strong feelings on this one. What do you think?
How about players that are on the current senior squad? Anyone there that maybe doesn't get as much pitch time?
Who I just mentioned a minute ago. I think he technically is on the senior team at this point, unless he is back down. Yeah. But yeah, Remmert maybe. I don't know. He's been playing with the younger. He wasn't a signing that turned out as well as that, because that was a name I was familiar with actually before he came, and then he didn't really factor at all. So I was disappointed in that. But
yeah, Felipe Sanchez, no. I think
Franco De Santo on a free. Who says no?
You.
Yes, me.
I think when it comes to Knapp and Schmida players, I think you probably Mertigan Ayhan is a name that's on everyone's lips right now. The captain for the Knapp and Schmida obviously scored that worldie of a goal a couple weeks ago, that led the team to the quarterfinals for the U19s. But yeah, he's a player who can play probably multiple two positions. He can play defense, but also attack. So someone that we have to keep an eye on for Ayhan. And then obviously Moussa Chabara is obviously a guy who probably the best goal scorer we've had in the youth ranks in a long time, if not maybe ever. And so hopefully he recovers from this injury where he can become a lot of players when they have these bad injuries, MCLs and all that stuff, ACLs, they don't always recover. Some of them do, but others have recurrent injuries. Hopefully he takes his time and recovers well and can become a factor going forward. I think for next year, I'm curious how TD Torre will turn out. We need help defensively, and maybe whoever the new manager comes in can help out. Maybe if we keep Hamach, maybe he turns out to be something. Maybe he also struggled to get with the league and up to the speed of the league. And Hoyland as well. We saw glimpses of Hoyland, a big attacker who you see potential in him, but we need to see consistency. Also, you got to stop being injured. And there's some other youngsters as well. Salazar could come through the ranks. He kind of ended the season very well with the Knapp and Schmida, and again, I joked about it before, but Fimple did say Felipe Sanchez did have a turnaround last month or so of the season. So maybe maybe he can come back and but we'll see.
Believe it when I see it.
Yeah, Timo Becker. I think Timo Becker will be the leader. I think that's a positive for next year is Timo Becker. No doubt about it. Not going to be a breakout for us, but I think if Karaman stays, is he the captain or is it Timo Becker? Co-captains? I don't know.
Co-captains? I don't know.
Yeah, but it's going to be a short summer. It's going to feel long at times, but obviously Frank Baumann's going to have to do some magic here. We'll see what he can do. I don't know. We'll see first piece is getting the manager in here and then start signing some players here, releasing some players. We'll see how that goes. But any final shouts out for the season? That was?
Excuse me, I'm in the middle of hacking up a lung at the moment, so why don't you go ahead for a second. Apologies.
Right, fair enough. Ultimately, first off, anyone who's been following us here for the last on our podcast and streams, thank you to all of you guys being with us. It's better to be misery loves company, right? So I'm glad we weren't going to do this alone. Obviously, everyone who's been following us on Twitch, YouTube, TikTok more recently, shout out to all of y'all. But I think overall the season has been a long season, as Gelsenberry said on YouTube. It seemed like many different seasons in one, with how it started, how it went in the middle, we had a false dawn, and now how it ended. And I think ultimately, hopefully, Kies van Vonderen, his rant or his acknowledging the issues that are going on at Schalke while he was a manager, hopefully did open the eyes of the management and said, oh shit, we really probably should do something. I am not confident that's going to happen, but the fact that it was so open like that, with a sitting manager, hopefully that can only do positives for us going forward. And if it does, we're going to look back to the moment when Kies van Vonderen made that rant and be like, what the hell did you say after the Hamburg match? It could be a turning point, but we shall see. So that's, my kind of thing is like, hopefully that is a catalyst for us going forward, not downward. How about you?
Just only the final kind of parting thoughts. I just want to thank everybody once again for listening to us this season. Richard, you and I have been doing this since 2017. So we're getting closer and closer to a decade of doing this. So I also just want to thank you once again for all of the work that you put into the podcast. As everybody knows, all the streaming infrastructure, all the social, everything. Like, Richard does a lot more for this, obviously, than I do. So appreciate your continued partnership, my friend. And thanks to all the listeners who are in the chat with us now or have listened to us throughout the season. Appreciate our small community, but it makes it a lot more fun to engage with you all and have people to chat about this with. So, appreciate everybody. Yeah.
The season has finally come to an end. And so, like I said, we got like Lucas Kwasniak, let's take 2 or 3 weeks to kind of recover and see what happens with the manager news. But first official practice opens up June 21st. It's a Saturday, so the gears will be rolling here soon. But for everyone out there, for Jack and myself, enjoy the summer. Get Schalke off your mind for a little bit. Refresh, regroup, and let's move forward. But look after everyone. Great season. Good season on the waves. Not too much on the pitch. But... Laters on the bench, I guess, what I would end with. So, see you guys. Look out.